He forgot. Again, 5th year in a row. No flowers. No text. Not even a "hey, wanna do something tonight?" Just silence. I didn't even bother to remind him this time. I had set the dinner table, lit 2 candles, made his favorite pasta just in case. But deep down, I already knew I'd be eating alone. He walked in the door around 9:15 p.m., loud and cheerful like he'd just hit the jackpot. I sat quietly at the table, barely touching my food. He didn't notice the candles or the dinner. Instead, he dropped his keys on the counter and said, "Man, I swear, the Mustang is purring like a beast after that oil change." Then came the line that really pushed it. "Hey babe, you paid the car loan this month, right?" I looked at him. Just looked. He didn't even make eye contact. He was too busy scrolling on his phone, probably watching car videos or texting his buddy about horsepower. I said, "Of course," with a smile so fake it hurt my cheeks. That was the moment something snapped inside me. He forgot our anniversary. Again, but remembered to ask about his damn car. A car I helped him buy. A car that was in my name, because his credit was garbage. And I'd been making the payments on time every time, because he said he'd pay me back, and I was dumb enough to believe it. I watched him go into the bedroom without a single glance at the cold dinner on the table. I sat in the silence for a while, then picked up my laptop and opened the car loan portal. I hovered my finger over the autopay switch. Click. Off. I didn't feel guilt. I felt calm. That deep, still kind of calm when you finally accepted that someone isn't going to change, and you're done waiting for them to. A week passed. Nothing happened. Then one morning, while he was at work, I got the email. Payment overdue. Immediate action required. I stared at the screen. My heart thumped once. Then it settled. Delete. No reaction. He didn't check. He didn't ask. He just kept going on and on about his car and how he was thinking of getting new rims. Didn't even notice I'd stopped doing his laundry. Didn't notice the way I'd gone quiet. Another week. Another notice. This time, I didn't just delete the email. I logged back into the portal. The balance was stacking up. The late fees were growing. And I didn't care. Not anymore. Let him remember this anniversary the hard way. I used to make excuses for him. He's just forgetful, I'd tell myself. He's busy, stressed, tired. The first time he forgot my birthday, we had only been married for a year. I baked myself a small cake, thinking maybe he was planning something and didn't want to ruin the surprise. He came home with a 6-pack and a new gaming headset, kissed me on the forehead and said, "Long day, babe. What's for dinner?" When I told him it was my birthday, he blinked. "Wait, that's today?" Then he laughed like it was cute. I waited for an apology that never came. The second time was our second anniversary. I'd made dinner reservations at the same place we'd gone on our first date. I bought a new dress, did my makeup. He called me at 6:30 and said, "I'm at Jason's. The game just went into overtime. You don't mind, right?" I did. But I said, "It's fine." I always said it was fine. It wasn't. There were so many moments like that. My job promotion, the one I worked nights and weekends for. I came home buzzing with excitement, waving the offer letter in my hand. He barely looked up from his phone. "That's cool," he muttered. "Are they paying you more?" He never said congratulations, never hugged me, never celebrated with me. When I tried to talk to him about how I felt, about being invisible, he'd roll his eyes and say I was being too sensitive. If I cried, he'd say I was overreacting. If I got quiet, he'd ignore me. Once, I told him I didn't feel appreciated, that I felt like a ghost in my own home. He scoffed and said, "You're being dramatic. You know I love you. But saying I love you means nothing when your actions scream the opposite." What made it worse was the way he treated his hobbies. He remembered every car part he ever bought, knew all the specs, booked car shows months in advance, spent entire weekends detailing his Mustang, spent hundreds, no thousands on that thing. New tires, upgrades, even LED lights for the undercarriage. But he never once remembered our plans unless I reminded him 10 times. He never bought flowers, not even cheap ones from the grocery store. Never left a note. Never said thank you. I started to realize something. It wasn't that he forgot. It wasn't some harmless personality quirk. It was disrespect. He remembered what mattered to him. He just didn't care enough to make me one of those things. And the worst part, I had let it slide. Over and over. I'd let him make me feel small, needy, annoying, for simply wanting to feel seen. This wasn't about forgetting. This was about being forgotten on purpose. He wanted the car so badly. Talked about it nonstop. Showed me pictures every night, compared models, watched endless YouTube reviews. It had to be the Mustang, black 2-door leather seats, the one with the loud engine that made him feel like a real man. There was just one problem. His credit was trash. He looked at me one evening, all sweet, playing the pity card. "Babe, your credit's amazing. You know I'll pay you back. I just need a little help getting started." I wanted to believe him. I always did. So I co-signed. Actually, no, I signed. The loan was in my name. The car was technically mine. But of course, it was always parked in his spot. He drove it every day. He even referred to it as his baby. At first, he said he'd cover the payments. But after 2 months, he started slipping. Can you spot me this one? I'm waiting on a freelance check. I'll cover next month. Just got hit with a surprise bill. I'm between gigs, babe. You know how the economy is. Every excuse came with charm. A smile, a kiss on the cheek, and I fell for it every time. Soon, I was paying all of it. The car loan, insurance, gas. Meanwhile, he spent his own money on car upgrades, PlayStation games, and junk food. He'd come home with new gadgets and say, "It was on sale," like that made it okay. I asked him once if we could start splitting bills again. Rent, electricity, groceries, anything. I was working full-time, coming home exhausted, and watching him nap on the couch all day. He looked at me like I'd insulted him. Wow, really? After everything I do around here, you're gonna throw money in my face? That's selfish. Selfish. I paid for his car. I paid for our home. I paid for almost every meal we ate. I started looking through our shared bank statement. He had spent more money in the last 2 months on engine parts than he had on anything for, not even a cup of coffee. That's when it hit me. This wasn't love. This wasn't a partnership. This was a setup. He didn't forget to help. He chose not to. Because he knew I would. He knew I'd pick up the slack. That I'd feel guilty, or too embarrassed to push back. That I'd keep hoping he'd grow up and pull his weight. But he wasn't growing. He was using me. And I was finally seeing it, clearly for the first time. He loved that Mustang, but not more than I'd once loved him. And he'd protected the car better than he ever protected. I still tried. Even after everything, the missed birthdays, the ignored conversations, the one-sided bills. I told myself maybe this year would be different. Maybe he'd remember. Maybe he'd surprise me. So I made a quiet little dinner. Nothing fancy, just pasta and garlic bread. I lit 2 candles and poured a glass of wine. I even wore the red dress he once said looked good on me, 2 years ago, when he used to notice things like that. I set the table for 2 and waited. And waited. By 7 p.m., I had already guessed he'd forgotten. By 8, I knew for sure. But still, I sat there like a fool, staring at the door, checking my phone, convincing myself I wasn't mad. Just tired. Just disappointed. He walked in around 9:30, plastic bag in hand, smelling like greasy food. Traffic was crazy, he said, setting the bag on the counter. Man, you won't believe how long the line was at Wing King. I looked up from my plate. The candles had burned halfway down. The pasta was cold. He didn't even glance at the table. "What's all this?" he asked, opening his box of wings. "You didn't say we were doing anything." I didn't say a word. What was the point? He plopped on the couch, opened his food, and turned on the TV. "You should have told me you were cooking," he said between bites. I would have skipped the wings. I sat there in silence, the cold fork still in my hand. He hadn't just forgotten. He didn't even notice he had forgotten. After a few minutes, he stretched, burped, and said, "Gonna hit the shower. Don't wait up." That was it. The moment. I stood up, blew out the candles, and walked into the bedroom. My hands weren't shaking. My heart wasn't racing. I wasn't sad. I was done. I grabbed my laptop from the nightstand, opened the loan site, and logged in. There it was. The payment history. Every month I'd covered him. Every month I'd clicked submit while he played video games or scrolled Instagram or bragged to his friends about his ride. I hovered over the toggle, autopay on. I clicked it. Off. The system confirmed the change. I closed the laptop and placed it gently back on the nightstand. The water still ran in the shower. He was humming some stupid song. He had no idea. I walked back into the kitchen, poured myself the second glass of wine I'd been saving for us, and sat down. Alone again. But this time I wasn't waiting. This time I was planning. A week passed. Then 2. He still hadn't noticed. The car loan went unpaid, sitting quietly in my name. No alert in his mind, no questions asked. Just silence. Then came the first email. Subject: payment overdue, action required. I opened it, skimmed the bold red letters, and smiled just a little. Nothing dramatic, just a small curl of satisfaction in my chest. I clicked delete. He was in the next room, yelling at his game, laughing with his headset on. He didn't notice me. Didn't notice much at all. A few days later, another notice showed up, this time in the mail. A thick white envelope marked urgent in red ink. I got to it before he did. Slipped it into my purse. Tossed it into the bin at work. Still nothing. He never checked the loan portal, never checked the mailbox, never checked with me. He just kept on bragging. That part really got to me, the bragging. He'd go on and on with his friends about his Mustang, his beast, the upgrades he wanted, the power, the shine, the sound. "I worked my ass off for that car," he said one night while talking to his buddy over beers. "It's all mine. My pride and joy." I was standing in the kitchen washing dishes. His pride and joy. Bought with my credit. Paid with my money. Saved from repo with my patience. But sure, All his. I watched him closely over those weeks. Watched how easily he lived in his bubble. He still left his socks on the floor. Still asked what was for dinner without ever offering to help. Still bought useless junk online. LED cup holders for the car, some limited edition keychain. Not once did he ask how I was. Not once did he say thank you. Not once did he even glance at the bills. The more he ignored it all, the more I wanted the crash to come. Not just the car being taken, though that part was coming fast. I wanted the realization to hit him, that he wasn't untouchable, that I wasn't just some quiet background support system, that I had teeth. Each time I saw a new email from the loan company, I felt a strange kind of calm, like a storm brewing just out of sight, and I was the one holding the reins. Let him keep talking about his car. Let him keep posing in front of it for Instagram stories. Let him keep sleeping soundly. The repo clock was ticking, and I wasn't going to stop it. I woke up to yelling. At first, I thought he was arguing on the phone again, but when I sat up and looked out the window, I saw the empty driveway. The Mustang was gone. "What the hell?" he shouted from the front door. "Where's my car?" I rubbed my eyes and walked out slowly, acting confused. "What's going on?" "My car's gone," he yelled, already barefoot in the driveway, spinning in circles like it had just vanished into thin air. "Someone stole my damn car." I stood there, pretending to be shocked. "Are you sure you parked it last night?" "Of course I did," he snapped. "I park in the same spot every night. Why would it be gone?" I walked over to him, keeping my voice soft. "Maybe it got towed?" He froze, then looked at me like I'd just cursed his mother. "Why the hell would it get towed? I'm not parked illegally." I shrugged. "I don't know. Was the loan paid?" That's when his face changed. Not panic. Not yet, but something close. Doubt. That little flicker in his eyes like his brain was reaching for something he hadn't paid attention to in weeks. He pulled out his phone and called the loan company, pacing around in a circle, voice rising by the second. I walked back inside. The second I shut the door behind me, I opened my phone and sent a quick text to my best friend. "It's done," she replied instantly. "OMG. Did they take it?" At 3 a.m. quiet as hell. He's losing it. I set my phone down, calmly walked to the kitchen and started making coffee. Same routine as always. Filter, water, grind, press. Outside, he was still on the phone, voice going sharp. "What do you mean missed payments?" "I never missed anything. I set up autopay. My girlfriend handled it." He stormed back inside, slamming the door. "Didn't you say you paid it this month?" I blinked at him. I thought I did. I must have messed it up or something. His face went red. "You thought?" "Babe, that's my car." I stirred my coffee. "It's under my name, remember?" "Technically, it's my car." He didn't like that. He grabbed his phone again, tried another number, cursed under his breath. He was sweating now, moving like a caged animal. I just stood at the counter, sipping my drink. It was quiet without the Mustang's engine in the morning. Peaceful, actually. And finally, he was paying attention. He was quiet the rest of the day. Too quiet. That night, he sat on the couch, arms crossed, phone in his lap. I could feel him watching me, studying me, waiting for me to explain myself. I didn't. The next morning, he broke. "So, you just didn't pay it," he said, standing in the doorway, hands clenched. "You let it get taken?" I looked up from my laptop. "Pretty much. You could have told me." "I could have," I said calmly. "But then you might have done something about it." His face twisted. "That's messed up. You're seriously gonna ruin my life over a stupid car? You know what this does to my credit?" I raised an eyebrow. "Your credit?" "The loan was under my name. You didn't even bother to log in once." He paced. "You don't understand. You just wanted to hurt me." I stood up. "No, I wanted you to notice me, to remember me, to act like I mattered. But since that wasn't working, I did what you seem to understand. I took something you care about." He shook his head. "So now you're proud of this? You think this is some power move?" I didn't answer. I walked into the bedroom, pulled open a drawer, and grabbed a folder I'd been keeping for months. I handed it to him. He opened it. Inside were screenshots. Dates. Texts I sent, birthdays, anniversaries, job news, all ignored. Bank statements showing all the payments I'd made for the car. Photos of our dinner table from past years, untouched, waiting. "You forgot everything," I said. "Again and again. But you always remembered the car. So I gave you something to remember me by." He didn't say anything, just stared at the papers, flipping through them like maybe one page would tell a different story. Later that day, he tried calling his parents. I only heard his side of the call. "She did it on purpose, Mom. I'm telling you, she wanted the car to get taken." A pause. Then softer. "Yeah, I know she paid for it. But still." Another pause. "Okay, fine. I guess I forgot the anniversary. But that's not the point." He hung up after a few more minutes, face tight. He didn't say what they told him, but I heard enough. The next day, his sister messaged me on Instagram. "Can't blame you." Honestly, he had it coming. Even his best friend, Jason, sent a short text. Yikes. I told him to start helping you. He didn't listen. He tried to make it about the car, about money, about credit, but no one bought it. Because deep down, even he knew, this wasn't about the Mustang. It was about every moment he decided I didn't matter. And now, finally, that decision had a price. Something shifted after the repo. Not just in him, in me. For the first time in years, I stopped doing things out of habit. I stopped acting like his personal assistant, his maid, his safety net. I stopped caring if he had clean socks or a packed lunch or gas in the tank. That was no longer my job. He tried to pretend everything was normal at first. Still left his dirty clothes on the floor. Still waited for dinner like it would magically appear. It didn't. He came home one night and found a note on the fridge. Dinner's in the freezer. If you know how to use the microwave. He didn't say anything, but I noticed the quiet frustration, the way he slammed a cabinet, the way he muttered under his breath. The next morning, he stood over the laundry basket. Are you doing whites today? No, I said, sipping my coffee. I'm not doing yours anymore. He opened his mouth to argue, but stopped. Maybe he saw it in my eyes. I was done pretending to be okay. Without the Mustang, he had to borrow his dad's old truck to get to work. But that didn't last long. The brakes were bad, and the engine overheated. After that, he started asking friends for rides. When that failed, he took the bus. He hated it. Complained every day. Do you know how long the route is? I have to change lines twice. I nodded. That sounds rough. He almost lost his job 1 week when he showed up late 3 days in a row. He blamed the system, the buses, the traffic, never himself. Meanwhile, I felt lighter. I stopped checking on him, stopped listening to his complaints. I started focusing on myself. I moved my desk into the spare room and turned it into a real home office. Bought myself a new chair, a soft rug, plants, little things that made me happy. I started putting money into a savings account, just mine. No more covering his part of the rent. If he didn't pay his half, I'd pay late and let him feel the consequences too. One afternoon, I booked a solo weekend trip. Beachfront. Just me, a book, and silence. When I told him, he stared. You're going alone? Yep. Why? Because I need peace. And you're not it. He didn't fight back. He didn't even ask if he could come. He knew better now. I wasn't doing it to punish him. I wasn't angry anymore. I had simply remembered who I was before I started shrinking to fit into his world. And now I was building my own. He started acting nice again, cleaning up after himself, offering to cook, asking if I needed anything. It was strange at first, like watching someone pretend to be a husband he'd never actually been. Then one night, he sat me down on the couch. I know I messed up, he said, voice low, but I want to fix things. I'll do better. I'll prove it. I stayed quiet. I've been thinking a lot, he went on. You're right. I took you for granted. I got lazy. But I want to change. I don't want to lose you. I looked him in the eyes and said calmly, you forgot me for 5 years. I remembered myself in 5 weeks. His mouth opened, then closed. He didn't know what to say to that. The next day, I met with a lawyer. There wasn't much to split. We didn't own a house. No kids. Just a lease, a few joint accounts, and a Mustang that wasn't even in the driveway anymore. I told the lawyer everything. How the car loan was in my name, how he failed to make payments, how it got repossessed. I showed him the bank records, all the payments I made. Use the car as leverage, the lawyer said. You covered his debt. He should take part of it in the settlement. When I finally handed him the divorce papers, he didn't yell. He didn't cry. He just stood there holding the envelope like it was something heavy he didn't know how to carry. This is it, he asked. This is fair, I said. He nodded slowly. You really don't want to work on this? I already did, I replied. Alone. The paperwork went through fast. I didn't ask for alimony. I didn't need anything but freedom, and a clean break from the mess he left behind. A few weeks later, I got confirmation from the loan company that the repo debt had been transferred. Not to me. To him. My name was cleared. So I packed my things. My clothes. My books. A few dishes I actually liked. I didn't take much. I didn't need to. As I walked out the front door for the last time, he stood in the hallway, arms folded, silent. I paused. You could have had a real partner, I said. But you wanted a cheerleader, a cook, and a bank account. I'm none of those anymore. He didn't stop me. Didn't follow. And that's how I left. Not broken, not bitter. Just free. My name, my credit, my rules. It's been 5 months since I walked out that door. I live in a small apartment now. Nothing fancy, but it's all mine. I decorated it the way I like. Soft lights, warm colors, quiet mornings with coffee, and no yelling in the background. I sleep better. Work's been going great, too. Without all the stress and drama weighing me down, I started focusing again. Got a raise. Took on a new project. My coworkers say I look different, more confident, more alive. They're right. I even started dating someone new. Nothing serious yet, but he listens. He remembers little things like how I take my coffee, what day I have meetings, and what makes me laugh. No loud engine talk, no lazy apologies, no blaming me for everything. Just calm, real attention. One night, I was scrolling through Reddit and came across a post titled, "What's the pettiest thing you've done that you don't regret?" I laughed to myself, thought about the Mustang, thought about the moment I clicked cancel autopay. So I typed it out. My whole story. Left out names, details, kept it anonymous. Just facts and feelings. He forgot our anniversary for the 5th time, so I forgot to pay his car loan, and I let the repo man handle the rest. I hit post. I didn't expect much. Maybe a few likes, a couple comments. But it blew up. Thousands of upvotes. Hundreds of replies. Queen behavior. Justice served cold and classy. Not petty. Just perfect. Girl, you didn't forget. You remembered yourself. I read every comment. Every word. For years, I felt invisible. Small. Like I was crazy for wanting the bare minimum. Now strangers on the internet were telling me I did the right thing. That I wasn't weak. That I was finally strong. It felt good. Not just the revenge, but the fact that my story meant something to someone else. I found out through mutual friends that he's still taking the bus. Still complaining. Still playing the victim. But now no one's really listening. They've heard the full story. And they've stopped buying his version. I don't gloat. I don't need to. I smile when I hear my own footsteps on the clean floor of my apartment. I smile when I pour my coffee just the way I like it. I smile when someone texts me just to say, "Good luck today." Because I'm not waiting anymore. Not waiting to be noticed. Not waiting for change. Not begging for scraps of attention. I'm done being the doormat. Now I'm driving the narrative.
Hi besties, thank you so much for watching to the end. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe.